Welcome to BadgerBeat.com. Rob Hernandez along with Jim Polzin, Tom Oates, and guys, very quiet here in the Bradley Center right now on the eve of the third round of the NCAA tournament. But tomorrow night it's going to be rocking. Badger fans back. Badgers take on the Oregon Ducks. And as we break down this matchup, Jim Polzin, I'll start with you. Where does it begin and end for the Badgers against the very athletic Oregon team?
Well, they need, plain and simple, they need to keep Oregon away from the rim and out of the paint as much as they can. I watched Oregon beat BYU the other night, and they get a variety of their points, a lot of their points on floaters, runners, and those are sometimes difficult to defend. But UW, which has had problems with that this year, just needs to do a solid job. And then, of course, on the other end, make some shots. I mean, it's a pretty simple game when you boil it down to the basics. You make some shots, it puts pressure on the other team. And I think that'd be key tomorrow is the first 5-10 minutes, just knock down some shots.
Well, as we look at the body of work by the Badgers this year against athletic teams, where have they thrived? Which teams have presented challenges, and what do they have to do tomorrow night?
Well, they've done a pretty good job of slowing teams down, as they always do. But as Jimmy said, they've struggled against dribble penetration at times, stopping the high pick and roll, or just having drivers take them off the dribble and not having the usual help defense that Bo Ryan's teams are known for. That was a big problem in the middle of the year. They fixed it up for a while. It surfaced in a couple of games against a couple of opponents late in the year. And this is the kind of matchup that I think Oregon could exploit their defense unless they really have improved on this weak spot. The second part of it, I think, besides the dribble penetration, is the pace of the game. They can't let Oregon get easy baskets. Michigan State got a couple in the Big Ten tournament loss. They can't let Oregon get wide open threes off the break and things like that, and runners and floaters in the lane. It's going to be hard enough stopping Oregon with their 5-on-5 defense. It's going to be really difficult to stop Oregon if Oregon gets out in the break. So they're going to have to play a pretty error-free game defensively and really, I think, pay great attention to detail every single possession.
And it goes, I want to mention one more thing. It goes hand in hand, offense and defense. They can't turn the ball over, obviously. They can't get in situations where they're scrambling around at the end of the shot clock and firing up three-pointers, and which allows, long rebounds allows teams like Oregon to get back and transition the other way.
Sure.
So they really have to play smart on the offensive end of the court so they can, like Oates said, get back and play 5-on-5 defense, because that's really the best way you're going to stop a team like this.
Guys, I'll run this question by both of you, because we heard it a lot today. The depth of Oregon, and not just in the scoring department, but the number of guys they run in. Obviously, they're averaging close to 30 points a game off the bench, but the guys in the Oregon locker room that I talked to thought that depth could wear the Badgers down and really enhance their ability to run. Do you buy that at all?
Well, the Badgers are 8 deep, and I think what happens in these tournaments, the timeouts are just a little bit longer.
Sure.
I don't think CBS wants you to know that, but the timeouts are longer. They're
Halftime's longer.
The halftime's longer. I don't think fatigue becomes a huge factor in some of these games unless you're seeing maybe a high seed versus a low seed where the low seeds just pedaling as fast as they can to keep up, and by the end of the game they're exhausted. In games against evenly matched teams, I don't really see fatigue as being a great factor. Although I must say, Oregon's depth is impressive.
In this matchup for the Badgers, Jim, who has to step up big for Wisconsin? Is there one area that the Badgers cannot afford to really have a bad night?
Well, I look at a guy like Sam Decker. I would think he's going to be matched up with Mike Moser, so that's a pretty difficult defensive task for him. And really, all those bigs, even if they don't have difficult one-on-one assignments, they need to help out, because that's part of the problem with this. Has been part of the problem with this team, is that UW's had trouble on the perimeter giving up dribble penetration, and oftentimes their bigs aren't there to help out. I think a huge key tomorrow in the first 5-10 minutes would be for one of those bigs to take a charge. Get in there, plant your feet, and take a charge. I think that sends a message, and not only your teammates but the other team, and maybe maybe it prevents some of that dribble penetration.
So also we've heard Sam Decker, key to the game. What about Trayvon Jackson, the guys that'll be handling the ball for the Badgers against those good athletic guards for Oregon?
Well, as Jim alluded to before, they can't have turnovers, but I think a much bigger factor will be Frank Kaminsky.
Sure.
I think I think when you look at Oregon's team, they're not a particularly good defensive team, despite the fact they're quick and they're long and they're and aggressive. I don't think they're a particularly good defensive team, and they're not big in the middle. They don't have a big guy, and I think Frank Kaminsky has to wear them out on the interior with his scoring and get guys in foul trouble, and the Badgers need to get Frank Kaminsky down low, and they need to get the ball to him and see if he can really do some work, because he could really cause some damage to that defense.
And also would open up the outside game.
Exactly.
And that's do a lot of inside-outside
It's
stuff.
the same as we saw the other night. The same as we've seen all year.
Right.
When the Badgers go inside, their offense often doesn't heat up until they go inside, and then most of the good things that happen, even the three-point shots, happen after the ball goes inside and then comes back out.
Well, if people book flights to Anaheim, California, it looks like the Badgers try to ride Frank the Tank all the way to the Sweet 16. Guys, thanks a lot for your insights here this week at the Bradley Center. We'll talk to you again after the game tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us on BadgerBeat.com. For Jim Polzin and Tom Oates, I'm Rob Hernandez. We'll see you at the Bradley Center.